The most interesting game that I played, I played a couple. I don't want to mention all of them because I think the most interesting one is this one called Beyond Oasis. This is a little title on the Genesis, which was created by, oh my god, I should remember that. They have like they have a very ancient, they were called Ancient. Actually, they're still around. I'm like, are they called Imagine or Aspiration? What are they? They're called Ancient. So Beyond Oasis is kind of like some people will call it a Genesis answer. The Genesis' answer to Link to the Past, specifically, because it's it really is. It's a really good it's a wonderful adventure game. Let me click on it and actually get it pulled up on my screen. It's a great top-down adventure game that evokes many of the things that are great about Link to the Past and the classic Zeldas, but it also does a lot of its own stuff that's really neat. In fact, one of the biggest feelings I had during this game was regret. It was regret that it wasn't more popular, and because I feel like it could have been an entire franchise. It has one sequel called Legacy of Oasis, which was released on the Sega Saturn. It's a prequel, and I haven't played it yet. I'd like to play it. I should mention that Beyond Oasis was also in some territories known as The Story of Thor and a successor of the Light, which I think is a much worse title and doesn't really get across. I think Beyond Oasis is much better. Honestly, well, it sounds like a sequel. Well, first of all, the main character's name is not Thor. And I don't like it. It's like weirdly reframing the cultural background. I don't like calling it Story of Thor. It's called Beyond Oasis because it takes place in a pretty nifty fantasy setting, which is called Oasis. It is heavily inspired by primarily like ancient Persian culture, as well as like ancient Arabia, and also a little bit of like the Mediterranean. Let's split the difference and call it Hellenistic. But the main character is a prince named Ali, and he is kind of an adventurer and a treasure hunter. And he goes to this island, which is Beyond Oasis, and discovers a golden armlet, which is this magical piece of armor that speaks to him and tells him that long ago there were these two wizards that each wielded these magical, powerful armlets. There was a gold one and a silver one, and that he needs to. The silver one is back, and it's going to be used for evil. So you have to go and stop the evil. I forget what the guy. I think Agito is the villain's name, like the great evil's name. Meanwhile, the silver armlet user, who is unnamed for most of the game, it's just kind of like this shadowy, cloaked figure, is like also trying to resurrect this great evil Agito. So what do? You do some top-down hack and slash adventuring. So what's cool about Beyond Oasis? So for one, this game has a really in-depth combat system, much more than I was expecting it to. You are primarily using like swords. There's a couple other weapons. There's like a bow. There's bows that you can get, and there's like bombs. And every weapon that you pick up, so there's one weapon. It's Ali's sword, which is infinite. It always has shorter range than other swords, but it never breaks. Every other weapon in the game pretty much has a limited number of uses. Thankfully, they are only consumed when you actually hit something. So that's nice that they thought of that. You don't feel quite as bad for whiffing. Because a big part of this game is hitting enemy weak spots, specifically bosses. Oh, and some enemies have like shields and can guard, and you gotta wait for them to lower their guard. That kind of thing. But a lot of your weapons are going to be... And most of the moveset is in like the melee weapons, which are all like swords. So there's a regular slash, and again, this is a 3-button Genesis game. There's one attack button. So if you tap it, you'll do like a stab. If you hold the button down and then release, you'll do a more wide-ranging sweep slash. If you walk, you can walk and stab. Well, okay, well there's all this shit. So you can so there's a run. You can walk, and then you can also run by double tapping a direction. And then you can attack out of your dash, do a dash attack, which does like more damage, and it'll knock some enemies on their feet or on their ass, basically. You can do, if you press walk and then immediately like attack at the same time, you can do a walking slash, like without having to hold the button down. There is also a version that I never quite got the exact timing down, but there's like, you can do a really fast dash attack without like breaking out into a full run, and you'll do like a moving stab, like a forward advancing stab that greatly increases your range. It's almost like a Kara cancel. You can also you can crouch and jump, and it's actually on the same button. It sounds very weird. The C button, if you press it, you will jump, and you can attack while jumping. But if you hold the button down, you'll crouch, because the jumping animation starts with the crouching animation. So if you hold it down, you'll just crouch. And if you go into the full crouch after a second, you will not jump. If you hold it down for more than like a half second, you'll just be in the crouch position. And when you release, you won't jump or anything. You'll just go back to standing. And you can also obviously attack while crouching, although the movesets for jumping and crouching are basically just a single stab. There's also like, if you get up close to an enemy and press attack, you'll automatically do a kick that can knock them away. If you mash down on the button, you'll do like a flurry combo where you stab, kick. That's really good. And then there's this blew my mind. I started doing them accidentally in like the first combat encounter. And then I was like, what? I had to look it up. I had to look up like a GameFAQs guide to figure out what the hell was going on. The game has secret attacks that are done by doing basically fighting game move inputs. So if you hold the attack button down, then do a full 360 and then let go, you'll do a spiral cut. You'll do like a tornado kind of slash. You'll spin around. It does a lot of damage in every direction, and also hits enemies that are low to the ground, because height is important in this game. Height is an actual gameplay factor. And sometimes depth perception gets weird. Occasionally, but it wasn't that bad for the most part. That's the only one they tell you about in the instruction manual. And then I looked up the other ones. If you hold down the attack button and then do forward, back, forward, just corresponding to whatever direction Ali is pointed in, because you'll hold the pose. You'll hold the pose and basically lock in place when you hold the button down. You forward, back, forward, you will do a jumping somersault slash that does a ton of damage and hits like way up high as well, so you can hit flying enemies. Then I found out, if you hold the button down, do the 360, then do forward, back, forward, Ali will do a low to the ground somersault slash where he like slices upwards. And you'll only do one by default, but if you mash on the button, you can do up to 3. And the regular somersault slash can send you forward and like can fuck you up sometimes. But the somersault slash goes really low to the ground. I think it might even hit stuff that's low to the ground. And you have much more control. You have much more control over how far you go. Just like, this is with one button. The amount of attacks that they managed to wring out of a single button is absolutely insane. And I'm not actually done. The other big thing with this game is the spirits. So there are, as you go through, there's about like 8 dungeons in this game. And 4 of those give you like magic items that give you like permanent upgrades. Like healing and like getting stuff back if you stand around and things like that. But the really juicy ones are the spirits. So the A button, I haven't even mentioned the A button. The A button by default just sends out this like blue orb that does nothing on its own. It doesn't even do damage. But there are these 4 spirits that you can collect and recruit, and you summon these spirits by shooting the orb at a corresponding like type of thing in the environment. So for instance, the first one you get in the first dungeon is, what's her name? Hydra, something like that, who is like she's a water spirit. She's like a fairy. And you summon her by shooting the orb, your magic orb, at a body of water or anything even as small as a puddle. And then the orb will like hit there, and then like some sparkles will like zoom and like fly together, and then she will be summoned and fly towards you. And every one of the spirits has their own moveset. So for instance, the water spirit one, if you tap the A button, she'll throw like a water bubble that will stun enemies, which lets you get a free hit on them, which is actually very useful. If you double tap it, she will heal you. And if you hold the button down and then release, you'll get an indicator. There's a mana bar that gets used up when you do these things. And it has a little eye at the top. And it'll start flashing to let you know that the press and hold attack is ready, or that move is ready. She'll turn into like a big water tornado and spin around the screen and hit everything and do a bunch of damage. So every moment that you have the summons out, you consume a little bit of your mana bar. You can dismiss them by pressing all 3 buttons, and then just like, so a big part of the game becomes making sure that there are things in the environment to let you summon the spirits that you need. So sometimes there will be something as small as like there's a drip from the ceiling, and if you shoot it at the right time and you time it, you can hit it when the water hits the floor, and you'll get the water spirit so that you can get some healing. One of the best ones is like, well, they're all pretty good. Some of them are better than others for different situations, but like one of the most generally useful ones is the fire guy, who's called Ifrit. And that one's just focused on like dealing damage. He will automatically attack the enemies that you're attacking. His moveset is like, he does like a big flamethrower breath. He does like a fire dash, and then his big press and hold move is he just shoots fireballs all over in like an orb. He just goes like supernova mode. He's really good. Also, you can use them he will like destroy ice pillars. All the spirits also have ways of like interacting and letting you navigate. So there's these fires on the ground that the water spirit can put out. There are these icicles that the fire guy can put out. There's one you get that's a shadow called Shade. That's really cool, who will like protect you from falling down a pit. If you fall down a pit, you just respawn, or you just respawn instantly with a little bit of health lost, which is nice. But he will just like pick you up. He'll just lift you and pick you up out of the pit, and you won't even take damage. And then there's these like spikes in the ground that you can send him towards. Like his regular attack is he shoots out of like your shadow on the ground, and then he'll like swipe at an enemy. But you can do that at a spike, and he'll grab it and he'll like slingshot you across like a distance or something to cross a gap or a ravine or something like that. There's a plant one that you get that can just eat through bars, like barred gates and stuff like that. Yeah, they really start working in solving puzzles with them, and like, it's really cool. Sometimes you have to make the resource that you need to make the spirit. Like there's this one dungeon where there are these unlit torches on the walls, and you can equip a fire crossbow and shoot an arrow at the torch to light it, and then you can summon Ifrit. There's stuff like that just all throughout the game. It has a really satisfying curve where it feels like it introduces things at a nice pace, and you get your whole moveset and your whole kit with all the spirits for like a long enough chunk of the game that you really feel like they made the most out of all of these different ideas. It's also not a very long game. It's maybe 10-12 hours. So it's a fairly like a kind of a Zelda, well, classic Zelda length adventure. And It's got some really fun bosses. It's got some fun combat. A few parts, like some of the platforming is a little weird, a little wonky, but I had an amazing time with Beyond Oasis. I would absolutely recommend it. Beyond Oasis on the Genesis from 1994. Just a really cool game, and such a shame that there weren't, because like I'm describing all this stuff and like in my head, you might have even been thinking it already. I'm thinking about like, oh my god, imagine being able to combine the Ollie's moveset and the spirits. I'm just picturing this crazy interplay, like the same way that in Devil May Cry you can do like style switching and stuff. Imagine you have like one set moveset for Ollie, like one that you've always got access to, but then you can like swap between these different spirits to like augment what like stance or mode that you're in and what you can do combat wise. It's super cool. It's also a game where you are perfectly valid in running past a bunch of enemies on the overworld. I almost wish that it had more of like a shop system, because enemies only really drop like items, which are usually for replenishing health or your mana. And after a certain point in the game, replenishing mana is a complete joke. It is, you replenish it so easily on your own without doing anything. I wish there was kind of maybe more of an incentive to kill enemies to like, I don't know, maybe farm gold for something. If you're going to have like there is like a shop, like merchant, where you can drop items and he'll exchange things, but I believe it's semi-random. But there's cool stuff. There are secret weapons that have infinite uses that are really strong that you have to do special challenges for. There's one that's really neat. It's like it's a hidden racetrack in one of the areas. You blow up a wall. There's a hidden racetrack, and if you take Ifrit to it, you basically have to use Ifrit's ability to do the fire dash to get him like to do this circuit. And depending on your time, you'll get a different reward. The fastest time, I think, is like, if you're under a minute, you get this infinite fire arrows bow, which is really cool. Just like one of those things that makes you feel like the developers really had a fun idea. Like, oh, what if you were racing him around? Like they got really comfortable and used to using Ifrit's dash and all that. And manipulating the spirits, because they'll usually, I think all of them use their abilities in the direction that you are facing, even if they're not necessarily, they don't always stick by your side. Some of them track harder than others, which is interesting. But you can do like manipulation of where they're going, and you can get really good at this game. Just a really sick experience, really cool. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the classic Zelda titles, the classic adventure games, and you want something that is very evocative of those. Maybe you've played Link to the Past too many times, but has a ton of new, fresh ideas and cool concepts. It's got a cool setting and really nice music as well. Great graphical style. There's like actual really nice looking cutscenes. Only a few of them, but some really nice 16-bit cutscenes. Oh my god, I forgot to Hitoshi Ariga worked on this, who I know as the creator of Mega Man Megamix and Gigamix, the wonderful Mega Man mangas. Who I love. I own them. They're on my shelf back there. And he maybe might be better known today because he's actually a creature designer on Pokemon. He's worked on the Pokemon games for a few years now. He was an object designer, so I guess he did like the items, and I'm not sure. They always have vague terms in Japanese game credits. But yeah, he worked on this. That was like a crazy surprise. Totally check out Beyond Oasis. Really sick hidden gem. I was just randomly scrolling through like Vim's Lair. And I was on the Genesis games. For some reason, I was like, I feel like playing some Genesis games. And I was just going alphabetically. Not that many games that start with A, funny enough. And then Beyond Oasis just stuck out to me. I played a couple other games, but Beyond Oasis really, for some reason, it seemed interesting, and then it really got its hooks in me.